So the first season of Galactic Calamity, which is called Forbidden Catalyst, is going to be coming up soon. They went over a lot of stuff in this video, so let's just go over everything they talked about. First things first, Galactic Calamity. They've mentioned this before, it's seasonal content. Every 9 weeks is how long the seasons are going to last. And we'll have different sections for it. Every 3 weeks, there will be a new character that comes out. And they also say that they've also defined the Galactic Calamity content into phases, early, mid, and late, which coincides with the character releases. So it looks like each character is going to bring a bunch of new content with them. There's going to be a lot of stuff in here. There's like challenges, there's new chaos, of course a story. And one really nice thing is that they say that even after the season ends, the story and chaos will be integrated into the main content. This is nice just because you'll be able to keep up with the story, since they've mentioned that these updates are pretty much extending the main story, I guess is the word. It's adding on to the main story. That is really, really nice. This here is a lot of plot-related stuff, which I'm not going to go over too much, but this is Yuki plus Amir plus Adelheid, who, for anyone who doesn't know, Adelheid is like Amir's little sister or sister figure. Not sure if they're actually like related, but these three are all linked together in the same like group. And Amir's directly referenced Yuki a couple of times, so we'll see more about them. Adelheid I'd expect to be a upcoming character because they've done some like videos for her on their channel. I think they had a short where they talked about her past a little bit, so wouldn't be too surprised to see Adelheid as a character coming up eventually. A lot of this is some story stuff, which I'm not going to go too deep into. Like, this is the Protoss that had something bad happen to her, and they'll talk about like her relationship with Yuki and stuff, and some of the stuff that happened. So you can check this out if you want. It's pretty well done. I'm just not going to cover it. And then here, these are the other 2 units on the Galactic Calamity background. We have Chizuru plus Serenial, and these are going to be, like, they say they're combatants. So it should be the 3 banners, Yuki first, then Chizuru, then Serenial is the order I would expect. We haven't seen anything about Serenial. We saw, like, the little darkened image for her in the Galactic Calamity, or the Galactic News Network teasers. And this is the first time we're getting her name. But Chizuru we've seen on the website before, and now we can see her full art. You can see her cool little robot arm here, since her arms are tied behind her back. And then we also have seen Yuki already, of course. So here they show Yuki's combat demo a little bit. Draw 0 cost skill, draw 1 of the unit's attack cards and a plus 20% damage to that card for 1 turn. And then 100%, 180% damage to all enemies. Inspiration, reduce cost by 1. Inspiration is if you draw the card, pretty much. Like, not from your first turn when you draw your cards normally. It has to be, like, draw the card with another card, pretty much. So we already see that she has Inspiration, which makes you want to draw her cards, and she had that first card, which draws an attack card. Deal 150% damage, and activate Inspiration to 1 random card in hand. So even if you don't manage to draw the other card, you could, this is a routine, so you can hold this. You can just play this and play the other card for 1 cost, which this is also a 1 cost, but you get free damage out of it, pretty much. So pretty much you want to hold that card until you get a card with Inspiration, I think. And this one, let's go back a little bit. When using own card with an activated Inspiration effect, 60% damage to all enemies. This lets you spam AoEs, pretty much. Every time you use an Inspiration card, you're going to get a 60% damage AoE, which looks really nice. And then here, 180% damage to all enemies. Inspiration plus 1 extra hit, but you lose a little bit of damage. You still gain damage overall, though, and it's only 1 cost. We can take a look at the animation, plus her ego skill coming up. 300% damage to all enemies. It's 5 ego points. And move all own attack cards in hand to the top of the draw pile. So this is a really nice effect. 50% damage per card moved, but the way you could use this is you could just use this for damage, but also moving your own attack cards to the top of the draw pile means that if you run out of AP and you still have attack cards left to play, you can just save them for next turn. This guarantees that you get damage on your next turn because you'll be drawing Yuki's attack cards, assuming you had them in your hand, and pretty much makes it so you won't have wasted turns where you just drew too many cards. Like, if you want to set it up in a certain way, you could not play any attack cards on this turn, use all your AP on like your other support cards, use this ego skill, and then play your attack cards next turn instead. And that's really nice. And we can see that she has a bunch of AoE. There's the upgrade that lets her spam AoEs every time she uses an inspiration card. Her ultimate card is also an AoE, plus her ego skill is also an AoE. So she looks to be a very AoE focused DPS. I'm just going to make this 2x, and we're going to speed through it real quick. So AoE DPS, one annoying thing is that the Basin, the upcoming Dimensional Twilight, is probably going to be AoE focused, I would expect, which might be a little bit annoying. We already have some AoE like floors in there, but if you have only invested into single target DPS, it might be a bit annoying, though if your single target DPS is high enough, I expect it wouldn't really matter. We can see some of the stuff here. So besides Yuki drawing for herself, I think Nia and Cassius are definitely going to be really good for her. Drawing cards, but also drawing specifically her cards and being able to target which card you draw. Sounds like it's going to be really nice synergy for Yuki, and I think those are going to be the things that we're prioritizing. You can also see Beryl. Beryl has a ton of draw in there. So yeah, there's definitely some combos we can play around with her. Looks like a pretty fun character. Don't think I'm going to be rolling her, though. Let's just go forward a little bit more. And there's talking more about Yuki here. You can see some of her epiphanies if you want to. This is the one for the one that initially draws one own attack card plus 20% damage. And here you get damage based on own attack cards. I'm not sure if this is total or in hand. I would expect it to be in hand. This makes it a retain, which is really nice. You draw 2 attack cards. You lose 20% damage, or this makes it plus 20% damage to own attack cards. I misread that. So this makes it so you gain damage instead of losing it. This makes you draw 2 cards. This gives you another inspiration, which is really nice. So if you draw this card with another card, you get a free draw, pretty much, and it's one that gives you an attack card. So you get 2 attack cards, assuming you're able to draw this with like another skill. So this is, I think this is one of the ones that I like a lot here. It just lets you draw so much. Plus it's also, you also gain damage on this one too, instead of losing it. And this, at the start of the next turn, draw 1 attack card. This is also 2 draws. You don't gain the damage from it, but this does guarantee that you have at least a damage card on your next turn, which is really, really nice. And then, I think they show like one more. Here, this one. This is the // inspiration cost -1. This increases the damage, I think. This makes it 0 cost if you draw it. This looks really nice. Now, again, this is another AoE card that I like glossed over, but more AoE damage in her kit. This is a 3 cost. When used, cost -1. So this is a bit of a twist. Instead of, like, inspiration giving it an effect, this you just want to draw the card. If you draw this card 3 times, it's going to be 0 cost after you play it. So this is really interesting, because it doesn't mention the cost, like, only lasting for 1 turn or whatever. Especially characters that let you pick out specific cards to draw. It's going to be so nice with this card. You could just spam AoE damage for 0 cost if you play this enough times. And then this makes it a retain. Extra damage amount for each own card drawn. Max 3. This kind of just gives you a giant nuke. It's not AoE anymore. This might be for a single target focused Yuki build, or if you think you have enough AoE and you just want a single target nuke, you could use this. Retain means that you can play this whenever, unless you're fighting one of the enemies that sort of like messes with your hand. But that's really nice, and this just makes it 1 extra hit instead of -1 cost. Scales really well with any sort of morale boost being a multi-hit card, but you do have to spend 1 extra energy to play this. And then here we'll take a look at Yuki's partner, Westmacott. She's in her little wheelchair, and she's a private detective, part of the agency that Yuki's with. We could also take a look at her thing. So Yuki, being a very draw-focused character that just wants people to draw her cards, This, of course, is going to synergize with that. Attack cards of the assigned combatant drawn by their ability have their damage increased by 50% for 1 turn. I think you want to play this before you draw, but worst case scenario, you could use a rewind if you don't like what you drew. And then damage amount of cards with the assigned combatant's inspiration increases by 20%. Your ego skill also just moves 1 card from your hand to your draw pile, which is nice. You can place at the end of your turn and guarantee that you draw the card on your next turn, pretty much. So this just synergizes with everything that Yuki wants to do, right? She wants to draw a bunch of her cards with her abilities, and then also being able to guarantee cards on the next turn. She has some cards to do that as well. Looking ahead, this is the new Chaos content we're getting, Laboratory 0, which I've also talked about a little bit because we've sort of seen parts of it. It looks like they have all the difficulties here. Starting at 3 is interesting. I wonder how high this is actually going to go. And this is like new exploration level 1. We have the weekly thing here. This is just some of like the difficulty level and some of the stuff. They also mentioned that this is going to go into like the pool of chaos afterwards, so we'll be able to play this world even after like the season ends. So there's new combatants, cards, epiphanies, and everything. Let's take a look at some of them. This one is interesting. So you see all of these cards say forbidden. These are like forbidden catalyst cards, it looks like. We're going to start with this one because this one's funny. It's a 9-cost card, which is absolutely insane. And you have to draw a card with an ability. Reading this, I think it's if you draw any card with an ability and not draw specifically this card. I think trying to draw one specific card 9 times is a little bit insane. But you draw 9 cards with abilities, and the cost of the card -1. I'm not sure whether this is per card drawn or per like card used that draws, because if you use barrels, a little chocolate bar, does that reduce this by 3 or by 1? We'll see. But this synergizes really well with Yuki. It's a retain card, so you can hold this and use it whenever. But it synergizes with Yuki given how much card draw she's going to be using and just wants her supports to have in the first place. This is going to work really well with her. 150 damage x4 scales super well with morale. Any card that hits multiple times, you love seeing like damage boosting effects on these types of cards. We also have this one, Portrait of Fury. 70 damage x1 for every 4 cards in hand, plus 1 hit, draw 1 for each hit. I feel like there's 3 ways to try and get the 8 cards for this. Either retain cards, you hold 3 cards, you'll have 8 cards when you draw your hand. There's also, I guess, draw cards. If you use Barrel's little snack thing, you'll draw 3 cards and you'll be at 7. Just draw 1 more card after that. And then, or characters that generate cards. So something like Tressa, make a bunch of Shadow Daggers, and you can hit the 8 card for this. Getting 8 cards gives you 3 hits, and you draw 3 cards, which would fill your hand from 8 to 10, I guess. This card is interesting. I think this is another thing that, like, I assume they want to synergize with the whole, like, drawing thing that Yuki's got going on. Forbidden Gesture of Freedom. I really like this card. So it's an Exhaust Initiation card. Initiation being a translation of Outbreak of War, which I've kind of warmed up to Outbreak of War. I wouldn't mind if they kept that name, even if it sounds a little bit like out of place. I think it's a really funny term. Just Outbreak of War. But I really like this because certain builds, if anyone's played the Heal Dagger Tressa build, where you get the upgrade that gives you a Shadow Dagger every time you get healed, and you just dupe that card a bunch of times. If you're playing like Tressa, Mika, Ray, or something, and then you have 3 Shadow Dagger Outbreak of Wars, plus the Deluge Outbreak of War for Mika, that's 4 cards, 4 cost in your starting hand, and you can't really play all of them. But if you use this card, this is also an Outbreak of War card, so this would be in your hand at the start. It would reduce the cost of one of your other upgrades, and suddenly you can play all 4 of those cards for free AP. So this, I think, synergizes super well with any decks that are Outbreak of War based and have you want to play a bunch of cards at the start. Somebody like Hugo could also use this. And -1 cost. -1 cost for 0 cost is just really, really nice. It makes your first turn a lot more consistent for some decks. And also because even if you don't have like a situation where you have like 4 Outbreak of War cards, having Outbreak of War cards in general in your hand or in your deck, especially ones that actually have a cost, can just make your turn 1 a bit weak sometimes. So this is very much appreciated. I think this is one of the best cards here. We also have Forbidden Guidance of Futility, another Outbreak of War card, but when drawn by an ability, heal 40% and -1 stress of a random combatant. I'm hoping this is just translated weirdly. Drawn by ability versus drawing by ability, because drawn makes it sound like you have to draw this card itself, which I think is very weird given that it's an upgrade card and an Outbreak of War card. So I would assume instead that this is when drawing by an ability, you heal and -1 stress of a random combatant. This again just synergizes very, very well with characters that want to draw a lot. So like Yuki, every time you draw a card, you'll heal 40 and -1 stress. It's how I'd assume this card works. We also have this one, Disposable Ego. Draw 1 and then draw for each cost of that card. So you spend 1 AP, you draw 1, and then if you draw like a 2-cost card, you'll draw 2 more cards. If you draw the 9-cost card, you'll draw 9 cards and overflow your hand. This one looks interesting, I guess. Not sure how I feel about its value, though. It is a draw card. And then this one is a lead card, so you could potentially play it for free with the multi-dimensional prism, the little yellow pyramid thing. Draw 1 and activate 2 random cards from hand. I think this one might grief you sometimes, honestly. Certain characters want to not play their cards, like Barrel, and you might just, like, play a card you don't want to play, or if it's somebody like Haru, who you want to play some of her upgrades before using her anchor shot sometimes, you might play the cards in the wrong order, or if you needed to not play the upgrades, since they do, like, cost things, and they're retain cards, you can just hold it for your next play. This card's got very varying value with potential griefage. You also have Forbidden Eternal Hunger. Response, draw 1 plus 1 AP. I don't know what response is, but this looks like another like new modifier. I'm not sure if any characters already have response, but we'll see. There's also a chance that this is just combo, and they retranslated the name, because this is also, I mean, they went from Outbreak of War to Initiation, so this could just be combo. We'll see, but this is really nice. 0 cost for draw 1 plus 1 AP. Though, looking at the response, I think you might not be able to just play this card for 0 cost that has a condition. Still, draw 1 AP is really nice, even if it's an exhaust card. It also does have retain, so you can just fulfill the condition whenever you want. So besides that, we have some more neutral cards. We're going to start off with these bottom 2. I think these are interesting. So Forbidden cards, given that this is the Forbidden Catalyst season, I would assume that Forbidden cards are these ones, because they also just say Forbidden at the very top. So it looks like they added some neutral cards that just synergize specifically with these cards. And then, oh, the dimensional tunnel thing they mentioned is interesting too. So in the laboratory, a mysterious dimensional tunnel suddenly appears, and in the dimensional tunnel, you can get some stuff like the Forbidden cards. The dimensional tunnel we'll talk about a little bit later, because one of the fates is related to it. So this is where we're going to get the Forbidden cards, and then there's the neutral cards. This moves 1 random Forbidden card into your hand, and then this creates a random Forbidden card in your hand. This costs 3, which is kind of a lot, but the Forbidden cards do look pretty strong. And then, yeah, so I think it's interesting that they just have, like, synergy based around the Forbidden cards. Look at some of the other neutral cards. 0 cost, draw 1 own attack card for 1 turn plus 50% damage amount. This is a Yuki card. I mean, this is perfect for Yuki pretty much. It does exhaust, but it's 0 cost and you draw an attack card. This looks insane for Yuki. Pretty much any DPS would use this pretty well, I think. Plus 70% shield, plus 25% per card in hand, with synergies over retain. I mean, I think this is just nice for anybody who draws, like, this is going to be a pretty significant amount of shield. If you have, let's just say, 8 cards, that'd be 270% shield for 0 cost. It doesn't exhaust itself either, it's a retain. So this definitely looks like a very, very nice card to have. This one, Propagative Virus. This card's familiar. This is the one that they mentioned in their AI accusation video. So +1 hit for response. Response pops up again. 5 stacks, so you can get up to 6 hits, 120% x6. The 2 costs, so you definitely need to be getting the responses a bunch, get value out of this card, but 6 hits for 2 cost on 120 damage base looks pretty solid, assuming you can get the 5 stacks. 80 x2 inspiration plus 2 hits. 4 hits, 80 cost for 1, or 4 hits, 80% damage for 1 cost is pretty good, to be honest. Assuming you can get the inspiration, so this is another Yuki card, I guess, or just any sort of draw-focused deck. There's 2 upgrades here. Self-generating experiment. When 6 or more cards in hand, changes the cost of 1 random card in hand to 0 for 1 turn, 1 time per turn. So this is nice. If you play your cards that draw a bunch, you'll be able to play all of your cards easier, pretty much. Especially somebody like Beryl, who one of the epiphanies on her chocolate bar makes you draw 3 this turn, then draw 2 next turn. So you're pretty much guaranteed to proc this, and it'll definitely help a lot with playing all of your cards. It does cost 2 to play though, so it's a pretty expensive upgrade. This is another 2 cost upgrade, which is pretty expensive. Upon drawing 4 cards, draw 1. Or upon using 4 cards, draw 1. Not sure how I feel about this just because of how expensive it is, and you have to use 4 cards and then have the AP to play another card, but could be decent for some decks. Next up, we have a couple of monster cards. The Chilling Godfather. Activate the bottom 1 card of the draw pile, and then choose 1 card in your hand to move it to the bottom of the draw pile. So this card, I feel like, especially if you can play this multiple times, you could choose what you sort of activate. And bottom of the draw pile should be the first card that you play. So you could definitely, like, somewhat control what card goes down there. We also have Hunger of Loss here. It's an exhaust card, but draw 1, and if there's no cards in hand, draw 4 extra. I don't know how I feel about this, just because you have to have 0 cards in your hand, you pay 1 to play it, and then you need to have the AP to actually use the cards afterwards. I feel like this is going to be kind of hard to use, but maybe there's something I'm missing. We also have some of the fates. So this is the dimensional tunnel thing I mentioned. This just straight up tells you the location of the dimensional tunnel, which could be really nice. It looks like we get some pretty OP cards from there. And then this, you can get Forbidden Catalyst cards in the shop, it seems like. So the cost of the Forbidden Catalyst cards plus equipment in general at the long shop will be discounted by 30%. And this increases the chance of a Forbidden Catalyst cost appearing in training, so you get them from training too. That's a lot of new stuff in the, there's a lot of new stuff in the Chaos thing, which is going to be pretty interesting. So that should be fun. It'll be a pretty different experience. So this is the Nebula Distortion. This is bosses that you've previously faced, and we're just going to go in and fight them, pretty much. This is the Crab Boss from Blue Pot, the first Chaos area, in exterior. And then after that, we have the Family Head, which is the exterior boss in, I think, City of Mist, the 3rd zone, and then the interior boss of City of Mist, and they mention when these bosses get released. And you get rewards based on the distortion stacks for each boss. This is just currency you can spend in the shop. Higher stacks for better rewards. So there's some sort of like boss challenges, pretty much. The core mechanics are similar, but the difficulty increases based on the stack level. So we'll see what that content is like when we actually get there. There's also the Great Rift, which unlocks a little bit into the season. You have to have 2 parties, and you're just slamming into the boss. It's sort of like a DPS counter. You just want to see how high you can score on the boss. And rather than trying to kill the boss, you're just trying to see how high you can get the number. So it's similar in concept, where you have a limited number of turns, but this is more about just racking up as much damage as possible. They also have a little leaderboard where you can see what other people used to, for just stealing team comp ideas, or if you want to try and rank on this leaderboard, good luck. And then here, this is the currency that you saw earlier, the pure white fragments, which we'll be able to spend in the shop to buy a bunch of things. Here we can see there is 5 limited rolls or rate up rolls, 5 standard rolls, 5 prism lenses. These weekly boss mats are nice for anybody who doesn't know where to use these. You use them enhancing some of the later potential trees, like the unique node from level 8 to 10 requires these. This is your little gear main stat selector. Another enhancing thing, the final crit module needs this in your potential tree. And it looks like there's 3 separate weeks too, so we're going to have a lot of stuff in the shop. There's also one thing that everybody's been waiting for, which is this, the Omega code. It's a slate. It's the Epic 7 unknown slate. It just gives you a ego level for a 5-star character. And again, I mentioned that I really hope that we either get 4-star selectors or like, they call it like the alpha code or something, I don't know. That it's sort of like just a 4-star slate. Epic 7 has them as meteor shards, but would very much appreciate 4-star ego enhancers. And then we also can see some upcoming login events. So here's 5 more rolls, both standard and rate up. There's also, we're just going to go through it here. This is 800 stars, so 5 rolls worth. Little exploration event. And this is where a lot of the currency is going to be increasing your exploration of the laboratory zone. And this is actually some stuff we're going to be, I'll talk about separately because they had a full stove update post for anybody who missed it. But this is going to be increasing some of the rewards from here. There's one interesting thing. This is a new currency. This green orb, I have no idea what that is. We'll find out though. A lot of random like promotion or potential materials here. Some like little not stat, but material universal mats. Bunch of credits here is really nice too. And then chapter 6 of the battle missions will be updated. It's also more hard mode as well. And that's pretty much everything for this video. A pretty long breakdown, but there was also a lot of stuff in here. But let's go ahead and take a look at the very final thing. A little bit of spoiler there, but let's check out Yuki's breakdowns.
ここで終わるわけには